Okay. This is S.LadyBug, the founder and creative director of YarnMovement. Welcome to today's Sip and Stitch. I'm having a late start because if you just checked out my video on Instagram, technology doesn't work for me today for some reason, but we're here. So let's not fret. Let's bring this all the way in correct. So this is a Sip and Stitch. These Sip and Stitches are hosted by myself, and I use this time and as an opportunity to have a personal connection with anyone who's coming on and want to hear stories of my journey because it has been a long one. Today's sip is actually coming from the local Jamba Juice here in my hometown. They have provided a few donations as far as gift cards go that I get to pass out, and I have this sip for today. And also, let's just say a little bit about YarnMovement. It is a global fashion and lifestyle brand that was really created to inspire consumers to value craftsmanship. Why? Because I'm a crocheter and I really, really value handcrafters in our journey because it takes a lot of time to do the things that we do. I mean, like, I'm working on 3 of these right now, and let's just say this takes time, right? In addition, we're going to spend this time. One of the reasons why I decided to come live back in, I guess it was March now. It's so crazy that we are in December, but I wanted to talk about these babies here, which are the Granny Square beanies that are actually being sold as a way to support the ongoing efforts for our nonprofit arm, which is called BelieveInWhatYouDream, which is a 501c3 that is designed and created to help young girls discover their superpowers. And right now, that vehicle that we utilize is crochet because it's very personal to my own personal journey. When I was a little girl, learning to crochet was the key to really connecting this, making the connection between my thoughts or my dreams and, what I can do as far as action goes and bring it into reality. And so that's what Believe in What You Dream does, is help young girls with that journey and getting them there quicker. So we're going to make a granny square. I have some red and white yarn here because, it's the holidays, even though it doesn't feel like it because it's sunny outside. We're inside. Many of us maybe have a tree, but it just doesn't quite feel like that holiday feel. So either way, I'm going to make a granny square that is red and white because I need it for a picture later. So when I post it, I can have my little square go, hey. And before we get started with the granny square, I would like to remind you all or introduce you all to this concept of taking this virtual experience to the next level. As much as I enjoy talking through the computer and letting you all hear my stories, I love engaging. And really, that's why I started the Sip and Stitches a couple of years ago, as a way for wherever I would travel in the world, I would just kind of like organize a gathering, a meetup, where I'll pick a location that has like a nice sip, whether it be wine or, some kind of, local or cultural location where they have like the best taste. So it'll be coffee shop, a tea shop, places like that, bars that have like, some sexy feng shui, so, conversations, and sit there and crochet. And so one of the things that is important with me, which is why when I was going through my rebranding process and coming up with what was going to be the name now that's known as YarnMovement, that I wanted to make sure that it's understood that this is something that is constantly in movement, right? At one point, when I first started my career or my journey as a crocheter and as a business owner, I was in college, freshman. My goal then was just like to not be a broke college student. So I just needed to have something that I can pull in money. It made sense. I'm there on Howard University's campus. Winters were like crazy, especially my freshman year winter. It was like, I think we had like 8 inches of snow one weekend. And it was just like, for me coming from California, like, it was crazy, bizarre, and it's not even something that I think just happens regularly there. So it just made me think about like moving forward that I really need to understand that this is about being in movement. You can travel, you can go certain places. And that's the thing about crochet for me. Like, it's not a seasonal thing as much as people like to say or think it is. That, most people, when you think of crochet, you think of heavy wools, you think of, multi-fibers and different things that will keep you warm, but there's so much more to it. And so even if it's not just a personal journey of being in constant movement, of, moving around from location and, like proximity, but it's also the movement of your hands and your thoughts moving through. And so either way, I still kind of do this. I mean, I have a bunch of bags always around me. But so for instance, this is one of my project bags, right? So my friends will, if they watch this, they'll probably tune in and make all kind of comments. They're like, why are you carrying that big ass bag with all that yarn in it? And it's just like, you don't understand my life, right? But I also understand that, if it's meant to be a space that you can have conversation, the conversation is going to go towards the bag and take away the energy. So I decided that we need to have what we call, oh no, there's one part that's not in here. Hold on for 1 second. Oh, where? Oh, here we go. I promise you it's worth it. Okay. So now I can officially do this. So I decided that it needs to be a stitch everywhere you go kit that is not like going to take over the crowd, that you can do something small like a crochet granny square so you can have a coaster, put this little coaster under your drink and have it there so you can take a cute picture, right? So this is a stitch everywhere you go kit. Okay. And so inside this kit, there's yarn, there's crochet hook. And then, so if you sign up for the sip and stitch and you get the kit, you get an additive of getting a sip that's added. So this is actually, let me do my little makeup tutorial thing, right? Where you hold your hand there. This is the sip. This is hibiscus rose. And this is just a mixer. So there's no alcohol in here. I thought it would be a better way of doing this because not everybody drinks. And if you do want to drink, you're drinking, this is your mixer. Okay. And then also, shout outs to Charismatic Creations, because my girl Chrissy is the one who's created this syrup for our sip and stitch. So it's this one. And then there's one that is raspberry lavender rose. So both are really great. I tried them already and they're good with or without. So, just letting you know, you're not going to miss out if you don't drink, right? All right. And then also Candy P's Corner, she already had these sip and stitch pins that she designed. And she said, we were kind of talking and I was like, yeah, I'm doing my sip. She was like, sip and stitch. So that's going to go in there too. And because if you guys watch, y'all know that granny squares are like the heart of me, which is, why these beanies are done, and some of the other like patterns are going to be coming out in the beginning of the year are very important because growing up, when I first learned to crochet, it was during the time of spending time with my grandmother and her friends. And so granny squares just take me back to that time. So most people have a crochet story like, oh, my grandmother used to make blankets for me, or, I used to watch my grandmother and her friends. But for me, this is what changed my life. So with that, also, just the course over this year, people have been asking like, oh, are you going to make masks? And I said, no, because number one, they're not safe. And I don't want to put anyone in any kind of like jeopardy of not being safe and then basically put like a nick on my brand, right? For selling a mask that, I would hate for someone to get COVID, and they're wearing one of my masks. And so immediately, beyond all the work, all the work in the videos that have gone into it, it's just like, you can't come back from that. And possibly I just don't want to do it, right? So with that being said, I posted a picture like maybe a week and a half ago. I mean, I always post it, of the granny square blanket that I made for my grandmother 20 years ago. And so I thought that would be a really, really cool blanket to use as a story, because again, for me, it's all about having a connection. Once you make something for someone, you're forever connected with each other, right? That's why, I ask and request other crocheters if they're interested and want to get involved in, Believe in What You Dream, to make granny squares. So once the beanie is made and is sold, now we can say that we collectively together, put our creative juices together, which the mission is to share the power of creativity to empower the world. Now with our connection, we're empowering another group of people, another person. And so I know this is a long story, but it's important. So I took the granny square blanket and had them reproduced. This is the exact blanket granny squares that I made for my grandmother, and they're made into a mask. So this is the last part that goes into the Stitch Everywhere You Go kit, right? Because the goal is to make sure you're doing so safely. So if you do decide that you're going to go out with your girls and go have a sip, that you have this cute bag with you that you can carry everything into, that it's still cute, so you can put it on the table like, oh girl, that's cute clutch. And then you're just like, oh yeah, but it's really designed for yarn because there's a grommet hole at the top. And so you literally don't have to worry about yarn flipping all over the place. It's all in one place. It's compact and you can have it there. So that's it. So when you guys go through, and if you sign up for the curated sip and stitch, which is much different from this one, where we're actually going to be inside of a Zoom and it's a full program, much similar to a healing circle that I normally organize, where we go through exercises to get you there, get your mind together, do some self-care. We have a live mixologist or a tea person. I mean, I have a whole program of new features each month. Each of those are going to take place the last Sunday of every month, same time, but it's more so we can see each other's faces and engage and, have some good time, and do so very safely. And so if you decide when you sign up that you also want to get a kit, you'll get all the stuff in there. So yes. And if you just want a mask because they're cute, let me show y'all again. Look at that. See? I'm so hyped. All right. So let's get to rolling this yarn ball. Get started on this granny square and tell you guys about today's topic. Last week we talked about ownership, right? Because it's very important. This girl, she says, I love the mess. I do too. I can't wait to show you guys a picture. Me and my grandmother took pictures with our mask on, with the blanket laying over her. So it's so cute. Because you guys know that I spend a lot of time with my grandmother, one of her care providers, and I've had to come on full-time care providing for my grandmother since COVID, just to make sure she's safe, and make sure we're all safe at the same time. So, we have our talks every night, and we watch Fred Sanford and country westerns, and it's fun times. But for today's topic, we are going to discuss a very important part, because last week we talked about ownership. So now we want to make sure we talk about formation, formulating your business properly. For many of us as crafters, or, those who are considered in a hobby, I think the only thing that makes the lexicon different as we describe what we do is how things are formatted. If you haven't gone through and register your business, have a bank account that's based on the registered business that you have, paperwork, IRS knows what you're doing, then you're technically not in business because no one can't pay you under a business name. You can say you have a business, you can say that you have, you can go through and get a business license, but a business license is not a formulated company, right? And that does truthfully make the difference. I think that I brought up, maybe potentially, I have a lot of conversations. Maybe potentially I brought it up the last time we were talking about ownership, of being able to be in a space where you put yourself in the best position possible to maintain ownership, and also putting yourself in the best position possible to take advantage of things that are created for business owners. So, like, for instance, if you register your business and you have a registered business, COVID should not have been a challenge for you on certain levels, right? Obviously, when I say it shouldn't have been a challenge, because they had so many grants available, because there's paycheck protection, so your PPE loan or your PPP loans. There was the IDIL or IDEL loans that they were giving out, and those are just for businesses. And all you needed to have was paperwork to say your business is registered. All right. Things kind of like break down a little bit when we discuss, again, formation, right? Understanding how you want to engage your business. Is it just doing craft shows? Because we're talking about, being crafters. Are you just doing craft shows? Which one of my clients just does craft shows and does the large ones. So, like, for instance, there's a craft show in Nevada not Nevada, it's in Oregon, called Sisters. He makes $25,000 at Sisters. Of course, he has to pay, a certain amount for the booth, but being in there, he knows that he can secure $25,000 just being in there. So for his business, that works for his business model, right? Formulate it correctly, know that you can do on the spot sales, ship when you have to, whatever it may be. Then you have individuals, who have online shops. And, we're talking about the structure of fulfillment at that point, right? How are you fulfilling things? And this kind of touched on what we discussed last time too, when I mentioned the whole conversation of doing fashion shows, whether it be for fun or for business, right? And so looking at it for business, you have, again, if there are buyers there, depending on what kind of companies they're buying for, or stores they're buying for, their minimums can be 200. And so understanding formation wise, how much money do you need to have as a down payment or deposit to get started? How many hands do you need to hire? It's helpful to understand your hourly rate at that point. Even if it's just based on what your goal is. And if the goal is just flat out, anyone who comes to me and, hires me to help them develop their business, I'm like, our first conversation is, we need to get you to 10 grand a month. 10 grand a month puts you in a space where you're at least a six-figure business, right? Having a six-figure business also puts you in a different mind space where, mentally you don't have to worry about, before you get paid, you got to mentally pay all your bills and expenses, right? It puts you in a seat where maybe like 1 to 2% of, your overall, pull in or income that comes in is going to take care of your bills and your expenses that you have. So now you're dealing with immediately in a situation where you can think about all the things that you truthfully want to do. And having an understanding of what that looks like for you is what I mean by formation. Formation is important, and it doesn't matter what everyone on the outside may look at you and want to define your business as. It really matters what you decided to do and how you went through it, right? Because that is truthfully the way that you can say you're a business owner, you're a boss, you know, like you don't have to work for nobody. You can do it for yourself, you know? And so that's the number one thing I would suggest. If you have not already, you know, registered a business, now would be a really, really great time. You know, even given the climate that we're in now, they're getting ready to release another round of money, and not only for personal, but also for businesses. So that would be a really great time. That way you can get your timestamp on your business immediately. I mean, can't happen now. I mean, you can get the paperwork in. You probably won't get it until the start of the year, but they will backdate it to when they first received it. So that at least puts you in the runnings for grants moving forward, right? Also making sure you're doing your taxes. You know, like for the last 3 weeks, for me, you know, like this is not only something I'm saying publicly, but this is also what I'm saying now. You know, if someone were to ask, like, how much is my business worth? Well, a good portion of my business is my inventory of yarn. And so I went through and had to go through and like really organize it for 3 reasons, right? Because I have retail, I teach, and then also I have nonprofit. And so it's very important to understand formation wise where everything lays, right? Because with that, I can say for sure how much my business is worth. And if I'm operating at a loss, which if you really want to be in a space of wealth, you want to operate at a loss. So it's very important to understand how much you have. Excuse me. And so like, this is something that, you know, like I dreaded doing and I put it off for a very long time, but this was the year that I decided I better do it because, you know, because of the climate, you know, I mean, just to give you an idea, like last year going to East Africa, so I traveled with over 3,000 pieces of yarn that I just had. That is crazy, right? Like as if I have a store and I don't. Not in that fashion. I mean, you know, like I sell things for the formation of it. So whether it be the classes, you know, I'm giving material normally, the sip and stitches, there's yarn for that. You know, the healing circles, there's yarn for that. You know, whatever I do, there's yarn. So that'll be a second thing I would say, you know, understand your value. You say, yes, I have to get all of that taken care of. Well, let's set up time. Call me. I'll definitely help you, girl. I mean, that is one of the things that I would say that is very important to me, being able to, this concept of lift as you climb, you know, that we are all climbing on our stairwells somewhere of success, right? And I believe that it is our God-given obligation to make sure we're lifting as we climb. So that means that anything that I've gone through, which I've gone through a lot, I've been in business for over 20 years now. And, you know, I don't want to bore you with all the craziness that I have gone through, but it's been a lot. But I take it as a lesson learned, not a loss. It's just a lesson. You know, one of the things that is a really great quote is that success is the, you know, inverse of failure. So if you look at it like that, that everything that you're failing on is just a part of your process of success. You know, you think about going to the gym, you know, you walk in with weakened muscles. By the time you go and do this, you know, workout every day, ultimately you become strong and now you're successful with that thing. And same thing is true for this type of business, right? That if you want people to take you seriously, if you want to be able to take advantage of some of the grants and be highlighted and do all of those things, well, there's a definite unspoken, you know, red tape process that if you don't have all 10 steps taken care of, you're not even in position to be a part of the running. You know, and I believe that right there is, you know, a part of the problem that we can all talk about and heal through together. And that's why these sip and stitches are important for me, where, you know, if there's questions that, you know, that I can answer, if there's something I can come in and help or know someone within my network who can help, I think that's a part of the journey of lifting as you climb, you know, that, you know, you can do it by yourself and you can be in a space where you bump into the same pitfalls that we all hit if we decided not to ask for help or decided not to surround ourselves around people who've already been through it. Or you can collectively engage within a community and be a part of a movement of success. And that's what it is for me. And that journey and that thought process starts with young girls. You know, that's why I believe in what you dream is like the most important passion project that I have going on, because it's just that coming in and, you know, telling someone, you know, especially at that age when they're at their very young developmental ages. I mean, this group of girls that I've been working with, they range from age 9 to 17. And so many of them, you know, come from, it's a wide base of communities and, you know, pools of, you know, backgrounds that they come from. But I think that the most important similarity and the common thread that kind of just weaves itself through this process is that, you know, who doesn't want to be in a space where you have someone who's a complete stranger who can look at you and say, you're going to be as big as your mind takes you, you know, like believe in what you dream. Like that is well beyond just saying follow your dreams. Because there's a challenge that I have with following your dreams, because it assumes that everybody has the same definition of follow. And it also is in a space where if you're going to follow something, that means it had to be something there already. Well, what if what you want to do hasn't been created yet, because you're the one who's going to really pioneer the steps? All right. So it's important to, you know, create this thought process. And so for me, crochet, you know, like is really that fundamental grounds, right? Because what do? Well, my process is this: that I start off with a yarn ball. I do a slip knot. I'm doing chains. I'm doing single or double. It's a pattern that goes with it. But I have a goal of what I want to do. Same thing is true for whatever you want to do in life. Girls, you want to get good grades in school? The process is this: find the book, open it up, read it, study it, take a test, set goals, hit them, right? And so if you're able to move throughout the things that you want to do in that fluid way, there's no stopping you, which is why I said that is discovery of superpower. That is your confidence. That's your passion. That's your you can't stop me attitude, right? And I just feel like if girls have an opportunity to get that quicker, and it's not to say that all girls need it, because there are really some really great parents out there who are doing their job and making sure their kids, their daughters just feel like they can kill the world, take the world and just take it and bounce it wherever they want to. And as an educator, you know, I spent some time educating full time. And I can literally walk into a classroom and I can tell which girls were being empowered and those who weren't. And it was definitely reflective of how their grades were, how they showed up, and, you know, and I always just said, if I had an opportunity to do something about that, I would, you know, and it doesn't take much. Sometimes it's just showing up and being present. Because some of the locations that we have traveled to up until this point, and I mean, the first one I traveled by myself. You know, I didn't speak the language. You know, I don't speak. I went to Nigeria, so there's like 25 tribal languages. But I didn't speak the language, but I don't have to speak the same language to have a muted conversation about match me on this, do what I do, follow this. Because once you know, like you're just given the tools and the essential steps. Because once you know, you kind of make it your own process anyway, right? That's with anything. That's somebody tells you to bake a cake, you watch your grandmother or your aunt who makes the best, sweet potato pie, she shows you once. You may not always get it how she does, but ultimately with enough practice, you might get it better. And you're like, well, we don't want hers no more. We want you to do it. Right. Which is great. Right. And that's all we're doing is giving those tools just to say, spark you up, like you already have opportunity to be, have a flame, like let's spark it. That's all we're doing. Believe in what you dream, is sparking a flame. And, from there, it's kind of like up to their own journey of where they're going to go moving forward. But, you never know what you don't know until you're exposed. And so that's what we're doing, just exposure process. And if you're interested in getting involved, feel free to send me a message, DM me, if you want to make some granny squares, if that's the way you choose to do so, you can do that too. you have an idea of a project you want to do together. Like I'm getting ready to launch what I'm calling a virtual stitch shop with this organization that's based in Detroit that's called Grit Glamming. And with their girls, they give them like a college experience along with leadership program to really just help them prepare to get to that next level of education and higher level education. And so they normally have a program that just goes into the school. It's virtual now, virtual space that opens up a lot of more opportunities for them because many of those girls were coming from different counties in Michigan. And so I'm doing a stitch shop for them where we're going to make just a beanie and we're going to talk and chat. I'm going to share stories like I am now and give them encouraging words to say, hey, crochet for me was not only a theoretical empowerment, but it's also economic empowerment as well, because I learned to crochet at age 9. And here I am, many moons later, running this full business. Yes. Yeah, they're in Michigan. They're in Lansing, Michigan. Yeah. So I'm losing light. So I'm going to make this granny square and get this thing rolling because I didn't even, it was so bright in here. I didn't even set up my light. And I don't want to take another break on y'all since I already had a late start. Oh, you say you're an Indian? Oh, yeah, I think I knew that. Yeah, they're in Lansing, Michigan. I started crocheting at 10:33. See, you understand. You might have a bad day and you pick up some yarn and it's like, what bad day? So let's see. Did I tell you guys everything? Let me think. So January, the Sip and Stitches are going to be the virtual meetup Sip and Stitches, the ones that are curated with the guests and the giveaways and the fun stuff, not just me talking because, I mean, as much as I love sharing stories, the virtual ones will be the last Sunday of every month. So I'm actually kicking it off next Sunday. I have a few people who already signed up. I also had a few people who signed up and was like, I'm not going to be able to make it, girl, but I just want to support, which is fine, which I'll probably try to get them to come on the next one. But yeah, we have a live mixologist. So again, that's Chrissy. She made these 2 cocktails for our Sip and Stitch. So I like both of them. Because they just work out as far as branding goes with rose and lavender. Come on, let's go. So she'll be doing a live so she can tell you about her other products that she has. Then I'm going to have Channy come in so she can talk about her pins. And then before we do all of that, there is a self-care workshop that, I kind of travel with that's really good. I utilize some of my knowledge from science and just check in so we can be all on the same page and, kind of touch and agree in that way. Then we have, prompted conversation and go with it. So it's really fun. Let's see. I'm getting text messages. So I chose this red and white because I don't know, my grandmother growing up, she used to always have, those starlight peppermints in her purse. So whenever I see peppermints, I always think about that. Because she always say, proper etiquette is making sure your breath don't stink. And that's facts, Make sure if you're going to be all in somebody's face that, I mean, not that it matters now because we wear a mask, but, at this point, make sure you're not smelling your own breath. Okay. So for the granny square beanies, it's just 8 squares that make the beanie. I'm trying to rush through this because I'm coming up on that hour time and the sun is dropping. I love variegated yarn. This comes out so cute. Let's see. All right, but yeah, so programming, there are the stitch shops that I'm starting in January. That's a new series. There are the sip and stitches. You know, obviously I'm still come on every Sunday and do this because I just want to make sure that I'm giving myself an opportunity to get my viewers up on YouTube. I also going to be launching around season 2 of Fly Girls. So if you guys have not watched season 1 of Fly Girls, please check them out. Fly Girls is a show where it's an intimate look into the creative hustle of women who are dope. That's determined, optimistic, passionate, and energized. Spend some time doing some intimate conversations about their journeys and like who they are, where they are now, what kind of businesses they have, you know, what kind of events led to them starting these businesses. Since COVID, I probably shot over 40. I haven't released any of them yet, so I'm going to start rolling those out. And so I was just looking at the footage a second ago and just hearing some of the conversations. There's some real like, hey girl moments. You know, it's very interesting to hear, you know, how many of us, we may think that our journeys are like just, you know, out in the way of like certain parts that are genuine to just our own path. And then when you hear somebody that has like something similar that happened to them, it's just like, really? You know, and it, for me, it just makes me feel like, okay, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because, you know, there are other people who are going through the same thing. So we're meant to go through it, get through it, and share with others how they can get through it quicker or not have to go through it. You know, I think that if you already been through like some, I only need 3 rows, rough time that, you know, you shouldn't have to repeat that. So yeah, Fly Girls is coming again. And then I'm just waiting for whenever we're able to travel again because I'm out. I want y'all to know that I haven't been in the house this long, probably in the last 15 years. I'm normally all over the place traveling. So I'm ready. I'm ready for them. I'm definitely not taking a vaccine though. I only do first generation Apple products. I don't want anything else first generation. So I'll let everybody else test it out. And plus my background, I'm a scientist. I know that when we were testing vaccines and drugs, we gave ourselves 18 to 24 months. And this is too quick for me. I'm cool. So I'll wait until the coast is clear. Then I can start planning the ongoing things moving forward. But yep. See what else. There's also the online marketplace. There's a few of you who are on here. I know that Kim, I think you signed up. I'm not sure who else is on here, but the online marketplace is, I've connected with a bunch of artisans around the globe, and it's a way to get them linked up with business, you know, by promoting each other's work. So it's, you know, curated library of dope things that I've discovered, essentially. And again, it goes back to that space where it's just, it's up to us to really promote each other because we obviously are, you know, not in competition with each other. We're actually in competition with big big companies and big machineries. If we want to continue the handcrafted lifestyle and still, you know, all take advantage of it, we must, you know, come together and forge this collective impact on our pockets, so to speak. So we have our square done, guys. And I need to turn on light because now it looks like I'm sitting in the dark. Let's see. I was looking for my rose gold crane scissors, but these look like the regular gold ones. So this is today's square. We're going to just call this peppermint. Peppermint square for today. And let me grab the light before I close out on you guys. Okay. So again, thank you all for tuning in to today's sip and stitch, even though I haven't had my sip. I'm going to be running a contest because John Vajus, my friends over there, gave me some gift cards. So I'm going to be giving them away. And this is today's sip. So again, so Believe in What You Dream, these beautiful beanies, they're being sold to support ongoing efforts for Believe in What You Dream. Those ongoing efforts are really centered around helping young girls be in a better space. One of the things that I did not mention earlier is that when you purchase a beanie, this will impact 2 girls. So they'll get what we call a Dream Girl kit, because I'm calling all the girls dreamers. And so Dream Girl kit includes all of the materials and supplies that are needed for the workshop, but also it includes 2 very important things, which is the personal hygiene products. And many of them also that will include sanitary products along with a solar lamp, because just how I was able to turn on the light, some of these communities, it's not a thing to have the light. And, you know, let's not even allow our minds to go down the rabbit hole, understand what happens in the dark. We're just going to focus on what we can do as a way to just help them positively be impacted in a way where, you know, they can study, they can feel safe, and whatever it may be. So that's for Believe in What You Dream. And if you're just interested in making a contribution to the nonprofit, of course, it's tax deductible, which is important right now because we're getting ready to have to do our taxes. You can do so by visiting donate.yarnmovement.com. One of the projects that we're going to be working on for at least the first and second quarter, leading into the summer, is that we're going to start fundraising for a school in Haiti. This school is located in an area where the school's been there for 20 years, but it's taken 20 years also for the government to actually pipe water into the location or even just the region. And so now they have an opportunity to actually have toilets installed that are running. And I have set a goal to help them get those toilets. And so 2 toilets are the goal. Excuse me, 1 for the girls and 1 for the boys, along with being able to supply toilet paper and soap for the year. So look out for that information. Let's see, I have the SIP shops that are coming up, and those are just to teach virtually, you know, since I can't travel. So if your kids or if you or, you know, want to get involved with the SIP shops, hit me up. Let's talk about it. You said I had a ball. Oh, you had a ball. Oh, yay, me too. So how do I get a kit? Oh, the kits. Where did I just put the kit? Huh. Oh, here it goes. So the kit. So inside the kit, you know, this is a Seiji kit. So stitch everywhere you go. So my goal is to make sure that, you know, for those of you who just have to go out, that's many of us actually, I want you to be able to go out safe, and you should also be able to bring your little project with you. So these are a cute bag to carry them with a little grommet hole to feed your yarn through. You get the mask. You get a mask, you get yarn, a hook, and then if you sign up for the Sip and Stitch, you will also get the Sip and Stitch pin. There it goes. Sip and Stitch pin and a sip that says Sip and Stitch. And you can find those right on the website. So you can go to YarnMovement.com and they're available there. You can also find the event for starting again next Sunday, the Sip and Stitch. You can find it on Eventbrite. You can go into any of my pages and the links are there. Linktree/YarnMovement. It's right at the top. You can find it there. And then just moving forward, again, I'm going to be doing these every Sunday because I'm not going anywhere. So this is S.LadyBug, founder, creative director of YarnMovement, and executive director of BelieveInWhatYouDream. And I am signing out. And remember, today's square was our little peppermint square. And I will look forward to seeing you all next Sunday. All right, S.LadyBug, checking out.